Hi, and welcome to the Coiltek Masterclass. Hi, I'm Trevor from Coiltek, and welcome to the Coiltek Masterclass on the Gold Extreme coils for the SDC 2300. Today I'm joined by three semi-professional prospectors. Rick Fishers from the Aussie Gold Prospectors Show, does most of his gold hunting in Western Australia. Tim Smith, who's a Victorian goldfield hunter, and Trevor Clark, who does most of his detecting through South Australia. Today we're going to go over why we have these new coils for the SDC 2300 and what you would expect from these coils and when to use them. We all know that the SDC has only one coil. So let's say I'm going to buy this 10x5, Rick. You know, if I was going to buy the 10x5, what's the performance I can expect from this 10x5 different from the standard on the 2300?
I think if you compare this one to the standard coil, you'll find there's a few extra advantages. For example, because it's an elliptical shape, you can easily pinpoint better.
Yes, more narrow field.
Narrow field, makes pinpointing so much easier. It also makes finding those specimen nuggets, the ones where you've got the quartz and the gold and the quartz, it makes them sound so much sharper. The obvious factor is, of course, getting it into the bushy areas and the crevices and so forth.
Where the 8" is a bit sort of wider, isn't it? So it sort of maybe can't get into that narrow area.
Right. Yeah, I think because it's slightly narrower, you'll be able to get in between the bushes where the 8" coil couldn't. There's also the extra ground coverage. Because we've got an extra, it's a 10", we've got an extra 2". It gives you a better coverage where if you're doing eggs for eggs over the same course of time, this will cover more ground than a standard 8" round coil.
So, you know, obviously with this 10x5 and the 8", you know, there's this thing about overlapping. Why would you overlap the coils? What are you looking for with that, with this 10x5?
Well, again, I'd say that because of the way that most people detect, they're missing gold. By overlapping, you are actually covering all the ground and not missing any of it, and regardless of the depth.
Yeah, so the coil, so how much would you overlap like a sweep? If you're really serious and you're tuned in and you really want to find everything there, you know, how far?
I think the serious detector who's on gold will overlap the coil at least 3 times over the length of the coil. So it's going once.
So a third, at least a third up and then a third up or half. So what about you guys? Would you do the same thing?
Absolutely. I mean, the deepest that you are penetrating with any coil on any machine is in the centre of the coil. So you can imagine if you have a paintbrush and that paintbrush is 50 mil wide, because it can't be 2 inches, 50 mil wide, and you walk along at your normal pace, there's a lot of ground that you haven't even covered.
Yeah, so you're sort of zigzagging up almost. So you sort of, as you swing, if you're going too fast, you're zigzagging, and there could be targets in between those zigzags where you're not covering.
And if you have an area that you've had good success in, they're the ones that you want to inch forward as you walk.
Chain or grid even. Chain those areas.
So with the 10x5 versus the standard, Tim, like anything else further for that, you know, what would someone expect if they bought this 10x5 versus the standard?
I think smaller gold within its field. So smaller gold, tiny small gold. This absolutely really lights them up, and extra
it's got
sensitive.
A really bright signal.
It does, and also being able to pinpoint them as well, because the nose of the coil is really sensitive. So again, what the boys have said, especially in Victoria where you're working a lot of reefs, you know, you've got big quartz boulders, big chunks of ironstone. This little coil with its toe and its nose, you can push that in, the same as bushes, but here in Victoria with rocks, you can get in between the rocks, and you do find those tiny little targets that people have been over the top of that just can't hear it.
Yeah, and what we've found as well is that the 8" has been a superb coil. It finds small stuff. We know that it's really good on that. So you can go back with the 10x5 and get in those areas where the 8 might not. So that's what we're saying there. But it's also got that little bit of extra sensitivity to maybe just hit that tinier piece at a little bit extra depth. So there are differences than the 8".
And great with specimen gold, as I said before. This sort of coil here is fantastic for finding gold impregnated in the host rock.
Yeah, so you got quartz, so there's a few little ones here which are hard to see on the camera, but you know, just little bits of host rock still within the gold. And the gold can be a little bit more prickly, you know, and maybe not as solid and water worn. And
which doesn't offer the target
that's right.
You normally.
These bigger ones, or even smaller ones that are quite solid and dense, have a really bright signal. And as we start to get a little bit pricklier with gold and a little bit more finer, we can get a little bit different signals from those types of targets. So this one can still be quite bright on those.
That's right.
So look, if you're buying a 10x5 versus your standard 8-inch, that's what you could expect from that 10x5. Obviously, just get out there and keep searching and just have some fun with the coils.